I did it because I loved my brother. For 32 years, he was my best friend, my partner in every childhood adventure, my anchor when our parents passed, when Daniel died in that warehouse fire. Or so I thought. I made a promise at his funeral. I'd take care of his family. I'd make sure his wife Jennifer and their daughter Emma never wanted for anything. I'm 63 years old. My name is Robert Hayes. I live in a small house in Columbus, Ohio, not far from where Daniel and I grew up. After the fire, after we buried what they told us were his remains, I started sending Jennifer $1,500 every month. My pension from the factory covered my bills, but barely. So I took a job driving for a rideshare company 3 nights a week. My knees ached. My back protested. But every time I handed over that envelope of cash, every time I saw Emma's drawings taped to Jennifer's refrigerator, I felt like I was keeping Daniel alive somehow. Jennifer lived in a small apartment on the east side of town. Second floor, narrow staircase that made my knees scream every first of the month when I climbed up to deliver the money. She always seemed grateful. Tired, but grateful. She'd hug me, call me the best brother-in-law in the world, tell me Emma asked about Uncle Robert every day. But there was something in her eyes I couldn't quite read. Something distant. 4 years. 4 years of those stares. 4 years of working myself to exhaustion. 4 years of sleeping 4 hours a night and waking up with my joints on fire. Then one Tuesday morning in September, my neighbor Harold knocked on my door. Harold was 78, a retired postal worker who spent his days watching the neighborhood from his front porch. We'd lived next to each other for 15 years. Good man, kept to himself mostly. "Robert," he said, standing on my doorstep with his hands in his pockets. "I need to talk to you about something." I invited him in, made coffee. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Daniel and I used to play cards when we were kids, back when our parents owned this house. Harold looked uncomfortable. He kept turning his coffee mug in circles, not drinking. "What's on your mind?" I asked. He took a breath. "You still sending money to Daniel's widow? Every month." "Why? When do you usually deliver it?" "First of the month. Around noon." Harold nodded slowly. "And you knock on her door? She lets you in? You give her the envelope? Chat for a few minutes? Then leave?" "That's right. Robert, I need you to do something for me. I need you to go there on a different day. Don't tell her you're coming. And I need you to watch her apartment from across the street, just for an hour or so." My stomach turned cold. "Why?" "I can't tell you. Not yet. But I'm asking you to trust me. Please." I'd known Harold long enough to know he didn't play games. If he was telling me to do this, there was a reason. 2 days later, on a Thursday afternoon, I parked my car 3 blocks from Jennifer's apartment building and walked. My heart hammered in my chest. I found a coffee shop across the street with a window view and ordered a cup I didn't want. Sat in the corner. Waited. At 2:15, a man walked up to Jennifer's building. Average height. Maybe 40 years old. Wearing jeans and a brown leather jacket. He looked around once, then let himself into the building with a key. A key. I felt sick. 20 minutes later, he came back down. But this time, he wasn't alone. Jennifer was with him, and they were carrying grocery bags. They loaded them into a pickup truck parked at the curb. But what made my blood freeze was what happened next. As they walked back toward the building, the man's gait changed. His left shoulder dipped. His leg dragged slightly. It was subtle, you'd miss it if you weren't looking. But I'd seen that walk 1,000 times. I'd grown up with that walk. It was Daniel's limp, the one he'd had since he broke his leg, falling out of our treehouse when we were 12. It never healed quite right. My brother was alive. I sat in that coffee shop until my coffee went cold, until the sun started to set, until I couldn't feel my fingers gripping the cup. Then I drove home in a fog and knocked on Harold's door. He let me in without a word. "How long have you known?" I asked. Harold sighed. 6 months. Maybe more. I was visiting my daughter in Columbus. She lives 2 streets over from Jennifer's place. I saw him getting into a truck with a woman. I thought I was seeing things at first. But then I saw the limp. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I needed to be sure. And I needed to figure out what he was doing. So I watched. I followed him a few times. Robert, your brother has been living with another woman in an apartment in Hilliard. Her name's Amanda Pierce. Works as a bartender. They've been together for at least 4 years. 4 years. The same amount of time I'd been breaking my back to support his widow. And Jennifer? She knows. She's been in on it from the start. The money you give her? She splits it with Daniel and Amanda. I've seen her meet them at a storage facility on the west side. They load up boxes, unload them at different places. I think they're stockpiling cash, planning to leave. I felt like someone had reached into my chest and ripped out my lungs. "Where's Emma?" I whispered. "Daniel's daughter?" "She lives with Jennifer's mother in Cleveland. Has for 3 years. Jennifer told everyone Emma was having trouble adjusting after her father's death. Needed to be with family. But the truth is, Jennifer didn't want to take care of her. Too much work. I drove home that night and didn't sleep. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand how my brother, my best friend, the person I trusted most in the world, could do this to me, to his own daughter. By morning, I'd made a decision. I hired a private investigator named Marcus Webb. Former police detective, came highly recommended. I gave him everything Harold had told me and $1,500, the same amount I would have given Jennifer that month. "Find out everything," I told him. "I want to know where he's living, what name he's using, what the plan is. I want evidence, photographs, documents, everything." Marcus was thorough. Over the next 3 weeks, he gave me a file 2 inches thick. Daniel was living under the name David Morrison. He'd created an entire false identity, social security number, driver's license, bank account. The fire at the warehouse hadn't been an accident. Daniel had paid a friend named Tony Vasquez $2,000 to help him fake his death. Tony worked at the warehouse. He'd started the fire, made sure the security cameras were disabled, planted dental records from a body that had been donated to science. The remains we'd buried weren't Daniel. They were someone who'd died 6 months earlier and whose body had been cremated and stored at a medical facility where Tony's cousin worked. Why did Daniel do it? Debt. $50,000 in gambling debts to people who didn't accept late payments. He'd gotten into online poker, lost everything, borrowed from the wrong people. Instead of coming to me, instead of asking for help, he decided to die. The plan was simple. Fake his death, let Jennifer collect his life insurance. $30,000. Let me send money every month, have Amanda work, and save everything she earned. And in 5 years, they'd have enough to start over somewhere else, probably Mexico. Marcus had found travel brochures in Daniel's car. Jennifer had been eager to participate. She'd been having an affair with Tony Vasquez for 2 years before Daniel's death. She hated being a mother, hated being married. This was her escape too. The most disgusting part? Daniel had laughed about it. Marcus had bugged their apartment and recorded their conversations. In one recording, Daniel told Amanda and Jennifer about how I'd started driving for rideshare to make ends meet. "The old man's killing himself to give us money," Daniel said on the tape, laughing. "Works 3 nights a week with his bad knees. I almost feel bad." "Almost?" Amanda had said. "Almost. But not enough to stop." I listened to that recording 5 times. Each time, I felt a piece of my heart turn to stone. Marcus gave me one more piece of information. In 2 weeks, on October 15th, Daniel, Jennifer, and Amanda were scheduled to fly to Cancun using fake passports, one-way tickets. They had $72,000 saved up between them. Once they left, I'd never see any of them again. I went to the police the next day. Detective Sarah Chen listened to my story, looked at Marcus's evidence, and nodded grimly. "We'll need to catch them in the act," she said, "attempting to leave the country with fraudulent documents. That's when we have the strongest case." "What about Emma?" I asked. "We'll contact Child Services. If Jennifer's mother is caring for her, we'll make sure Emma stays in a safe environment. You're her uncle. After this is over, you can petition for custody if you want." Did I want? God, yes. Emma was 7 years old. She deserved better than parents who'd abandoned her to chase their selfish dreams. On October 14th, I withdrew the last $1,500 from my savings account. I'd been planning to use it for a new water heater, but that could wait. I put the money in an envelope and drove to Jennifer's apartment one last time. I climbed those stairs slowly, feeling every step in my knees. When I reached her door, I knocked. Jennifer answered, wearing yoga pants and a sweatshirt. She smiled when she saw me, but it didn't reach her eyes. It never had. "Robert, you're early this month. Wanted to catch you before you got too busy," I said, handing her the envelope. "How's Emma?" "Oh, she's doing great. My mom says she's reading above her grade level now." Lies. All lies. I knew from the private investigator that Jennifer hadn't called her mother in 6 weeks. That's wonderful. "Listen, Jennifer, I need to ask you something." Her smile faltered. "Sure. What's up?" "I'm thinking about visiting Emma next weekend. Maybe taking her to the zoo. Would that be okay?" "Oh," she hesitated. "You know, my mom's schedule is really busy right now. Maybe give it a few more weeks?" "Right. Of course." I left. I didn't look back. The next day, October 15th, I met Detective Chen and 3 other officers at Port Columbus International Airport. We waited near the security checkpoint, watching passengers move through like water through a stream. At 10:43 a.m., I saw them. Daniel entered first, pulling a black rolling suitcase. He'd grown a beard, wore glasses, but I'd know him anywhere. Amanda was next to him, holding his hand. Jennifer followed a few steps behind, looking nervous. Detective Chen spoke into her radio. Subjects identified. Moving in. We approached from 3 sides. Daniel saw us first. For 1 second, his eyes met mine, and I saw recognition flash across his face. Then panic. He tried to run. Stupid. Airport police grabbed him before he made it 5 steps. Amanda froze. Jennifer dropped her suitcase and started crying. Detective Chen read them their rights. Other officers searched their bags. Inside, they found $72,000 in cash, fake passports, and 3 one-way tickets to Cancun. Daniel looked at me as they cuffed him. "Robert, don't," I said. "Don't you dare. I can explain. You faked your own death. You let me believe you were gone. You let me work myself into the ground to support your family while you planned your escape with your mistress. You abandoned your daughter. What explanation could possibly matter?" He had no answer. They took them away. Daniel, Jennifer, and Amanda in 3 separate police cars. I stood in that airport for a long time after they left, watching travelers rush past, going to see family, going home, going somewhere. The trial took 6 months. Daniel was charged with fraud, identity theft, insurance fraud, and conspiracy. Jennifer faced the same charges, plus child abandonment. Amanda was charged with conspiracy and aiding and abetting. The prosecutors were thorough. They had Marcus's recordings, Harold's testimony, my bank statements showing 4 years of monthly payments, the fake documents, everything. The defense tried to argue that Daniel had been under duress from his gambling debts, that he'd made a mistake but deserved a second chance. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Daniel got 8 years in federal prison. Jennifer got 6. Amanda got 4. After the sentencing, I drove to Cleveland to see Emma. She was staying with Jennifer's mother, Gloria, in a small house near the lake. Gloria was 72, kind-faced, exhausted. "She knows her mother's in jail," Gloria told me. I didn't tell her about Daniel. Didn't know how. "She thinks he died in the fire. Can I see her?" Gloria led me to the backyard. Emma was sitting under a tree, drawing in a sketchbook. She looked up when she heard us approach, and my breath caught. She had Daniel's eyes, our father's eyes. "Emma," Gloria said gently, "this is your Uncle Robert, your dad's brother." Emma studied me for a moment. Then she said, "I remember you. You gave me a stuffed elephant once, for my birthday." I'd forgotten that. But yes, I had. 3 years ago. "That's right," I said, sitting down next to her. "Can I see what you're drawing?" She showed me. It was a picture of a house with a garden, flowers everywhere, a big tree in the front yard. "That's beautiful," I said, It's where I want to live someday, she said. Somewhere with a garden and a tree to climb. I looked at Gloria. She looked at me, and I knew what I had to do. It took 4 months to finalize the custody arrangement. Gloria was getting older, didn't have the energy to raise a child. Emma's father was in prison, her mother too. I was her closest living relative who was capable. On a cold day in March, I brought Emma home to Columbus, to the house where Daniel and I had grown up, the house with the backyard that could fit a garden, the house with a tree, the same tree Daniel had fallen from and broken his leg all those years ago. I enrolled Emma in school, helped her with her homework, learned to cook meals that weren't just sandwiches and soup, planted flowers in the backyard that spring, and Emma helped, getting dirt under her fingernails and laughing when I accidentally watered her instead of the petals. Harold came over sometimes to check on us. He'd sit on the porch with me while Emma drew pictures at the kitchen table, visible through the window. "You did the right thing," Harold said one evening. "I don't know if there was a right thing," I said. "I just know I couldn't let him keep taking from me. From her. You gave that girl a chance. That's more than her parents did." I thought about Daniel sometimes, wondered if he regretted it, wondered if he lay in his cell at night thinking about the daughter he'd abandoned, the brother he'd betrayed. I wondered if he remembered the treehouse, the card games at the kitchen table, all the promises we'd made to each other as kids. Probably not. People who can do what Daniel did don't think like that. Emma turned 8 in July. We had a small party in the backyard. Harold came. A few of her new friends from school. Gloria made the drive from Cleveland. Emma blew out her candles and made a wish. Later, when everyone had left and she was getting ready for bed, she hugged me. "Thank you for my party, Uncle Robert." "You're welcome, sweetheart. Can I ask you something?" "Anything. Are you going to leave too?" My chest tightened. "No, Emma. I'm not going anywhere. I promise." She nodded against my shoulder. "Good. Because I like living here. I like having a garden. And I like you. I like you too." That night, after she fell asleep, I sat in my kitchen at the same table where Daniel and I used to sit, and I thought about what I'd lost and what I'd gained. I'd lost my brother not to death, but to something worse. To greed, to selfishness, to the kind of betrayal that cuts deeper than any grave. But I'd gained Emma. A second chance to be the man I thought Daniel was. The chance to raise a child who deserved love and stability and a garden full of flowers. I'd worked 3 nights a week for 4 years, climbing those stairs with my bad knees, giving everything I had to support what I thought was my brother's family. Turns out, I was just funding his escape. But now I work those same 3 nights a week. My knees still ache. My back still protests. But every dollar I earn goes toward Emma's future, her education, her dreams, the life she deserves, and that makes every step worth it. The people who betrayed me are behind bars. Justice was served. But the real victory isn't their punishment. It's Emma, asleep upstairs in a room we painted yellow together, surrounded by her drawings of gardens and trees and houses with families that don't leave. I did it for my brother once. I'm doing it for his daughter now. And this time, I'm doing it right.